Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President of Engineering for Google, Vic Gundotra.
Well, good morning, everybody. You made it, even at this early hour. I hope you enjoyed that party last night. Yeah? How about that spider? Was that cool or what? After a few drinks, I thought that thing was going to chase me. A lot of fun. Let me also welcome the many thousands who are watching our live stream on YouTube. Yesterday, just for your information, we had over 24,000 people watching it concurrently live. So in addition to the 5,000 plus folks we had here, we had almost 30,000 watch us yesterday. And so welcome to everyone watching on YouTube. To begin today's keynote, I'd like to start with a story. It's a story of my very first day on the job at Google. Now, I'm sure you've all been at a new job. You understand the apprehensiveness you might feel with a new office, new people. It was on that very first day that I met a man named Mr. Andy Rubin. Now, I suspect most of you know who Andy Rubin is. At the time, he was responsible for what was then a secret project codenamed Android. And on that first day, Andy enthusiastically described to me the team's mission and purpose. And as he spoke, I'll level with you, I was skeptical. In fact, I interrupted Andy. And I said, Andy, I don't get it. Does the world really need another mobile operating system? Google's about advertising. Shouldn't we be on every phone? To this day, I remember Andy's response, and he made 2 points. The first point Andy made was that it was critically important to provide a free mobile operating system, an open source operating system that would enable innovation at every level of the stack. In other words, OEMs should be free to build all kinds of devices with keyboards, without keyboards, with front-facing cameras, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. That operators should be able to compete on the strength and coverage of their network, 2G, 3G, 4G, LTE, CDMA, and that in the end, with innovation coming at every layer, it would be the consumer who would be able to benefit by getting the best device at the best network for them. I remember Andy's second point. He argued that if Google did not act, we faced a draconian future. A future where one man, one company, one device, one carrier would be our only choice. That's a future we don't want. So, if you believe in openness, if you believe in choice, if you believe in innovation from everyone, then welcome to Android. Now, let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about the momentum that we've achieved in 18 months. It's been a year and a half since we've been started with Android. How are we doing? Let's do a little bit of a report card. First of all, let's demonstrate some momentum. It's hard to believe that in only 18 months, we've achieved over 60 compatible devices where your software, where your applications can run. And these devices are not just from people you haven't heard of. These are from the leading consumer electronic companies in the world, Sony Ericsson, HTC, Motorola, and many others who are producing devices that meet the needs of consumers. We think this is pretty fantastic progress in just 18 months. Of course, it's not just the creation of the devices. It's the 21 OEMs in 48 countries and over 59 carriers who've joined the Android revolution. Of course, producing devices, making them available across a multitude of countries and carriers doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see adoption. Have users found Android to be something that they desire? Well, last year we reported, late last year, that we had reached a sales run rate, a daily activation rate of over 30,000 units a day. In February, just a few months later, we announced that our daily run rate had achieved 60,000 units a day. I'm very proud to announce today that our run rate, daily activations, has now passed 100,000 a day. Go Android. Of course, that momentum has led to some pretty significant milestones. One of the ones we're most proud of is that this quarter we are now second in the United States in smartphone sales, second only to RIM. And that's pretty amazing progress in 18 months. We're second in smartphone sales, but according to AdMob data, we are now first this quarter in total web and app usage. That's fantastic. You know, we set a crazy internal milestone for ourselves. You know, the phones are being used by consumers, but what are they being used for? And we set a crazy internal goal when we shipped turn-by-turn navigation for Android 6 months ago. We thought it might be possible to have 500 million miles navigated in the first year. In hardly 6 months, we've now crossed 1 billion miles navigated with turn-by-turn navigation on Android. So users just love that feature. Thank you. There are some who say that users don't use Google search on smartphones. Well, we're a company driven by data, not by opinions. And you know what the data shows? The data shows that we've seen a 5x growth in the past 2 years. That's not just on Android, but that's across all smartphone categories. People love Google search. You give them a great browser, and they do Google search. Tremendous, awesome usage of the web on these devices. Of course, what they love is applications. And today I'm happy to announce that we've crossed 50,000 applications in the Android marketplace. And really, the credit there goes to you. Thank you for the 180,000 developers. Thank you. The 180,000 developers who've joined the Android revolution. Really, it's your hard work that's paired with the innovation that's coming from OEMs and carriers that makes the mobile ecosystem work. We certainly couldn't have done this without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for supporting Android. Now, let's talk about the platform. We finished a section on momentum. Let's talk about what we're doing to make the Android platform continue to evolve and get better. Now, in this section, I have over 20 demos. 22 demos, I believe. And in order to help me with that, I'd like to invite up on stage Matt Waddell, my partner in crime here. Many of you may remember Matt from last year. And we're going to go through a number of demos that's going to really showcase what we're doing with Android. There are 5 major areas of investments that we're making in the platform. Now, we've been quick to iterate with Android. In fact, there's been 7 releases in those 18 months. And today we're announcing the next release, Android 2.2, codenamed Froyo. What's in Froyo? Let's talk about 5 pillars. Number 1, let's begin with speed. Now, as you developers know, the Android architecture is one that's built upon a virtual machine, the Dalvik virtual machine. And we think it's very important. It's a critical design decision we made that future-proofs your application. We have big dreams for Android. And part of those dreams mean that Android will go to new places with new chip architectures. But by having your applications right to the virtual machine, why we believe we can go carry the entire ecosystem to exciting new areas. Of course, that only works if the virtual machine is fast. And the Dalvik VM has done its job, being fast, efficient, and automatic and easy for developers. But we can do even better. And we're very proud to announce that in Froyo, we've added a JIT, a just-in-time compiler, which gives up to 2 to 5x speed-up of your apps on the exact same hardware. Now, this is best demonstrated, and let's do that. Let's go to our first demo. We're going to show you a game. The game has been modified for purposes of this demo. You guys may know Replica Island. Here's what we've done to modify the game. The game now will show the frame rate that it's rendering in the bottom right-hand corner. If the frame rate drops beneath 30 frames a second, the screen will flash red. Exact same hardware, exact same game. Top is running Froyo with JIT compilation. The bottom is running Eclair. We're going to introduce a crazy number of monsters into this game. So you see the monsters keep getting added, increasing the complexity of the game. You see the frame rate at the top, and as we add complexity, it starts to slow down. You'll note there at the bottom, there are times when we're dropping beneath 30 frames a second and it's flashing red. You'll note at the top with Froyo, exactly the same game runs much better, never dropping beneath 30 frames a second, all because of the JIT compiler. All right, let's go back to slides. Now, as Android adoption has skyrocketed, people have been taking these devices to work. And we've heard loud and clear from the enterprise that they need very specific features. Well, in Froyo, we introduced over 20 new features designed to meet the needs of enterprise. Let me touch on 2 of them. Number 1, we've become Microsoft Exchange friendly. That means, yes, thank you. That means things like auto-discovery, integration with the global address book, the security policies that are available in Exchange can be enforced upon the device. Number 2, we've added new APIs for device management. So you can build software that does critically important things like remote wipe of the device if necessary. And there's many, many other things that we've added that you'll see in the documentation. Let's talk about new services available for developers in the SDK. Now, one of the first services I want to talk about is the Application Data Backup API. Now, if you use Android and you've gone to another device, you know that Android will automatically back up your applications. In other words, you get a new device, you log in, and your applications come along with that. However, what Android has not done is backed up the data associated with those applications. So for example, I have a particularly favorite application that helps me monitor my exercise and my weight. But when I move to a new Android device, the application moves, but all my personal data and history doesn't. Starting with Froyo, we'll provide an application data backup API that ISVs can take advantage of and move the data along with the application. We think that's a great feature. In addition to that, we have a brand new API, a cloud-to-device messaging API. Now, let me be clear. This is not a push notification API designed to compensate for the lack of basic functionality like multitasking in the operating system. Okay? We've done something very clever I think you're going to love. As a developer, you can send a message to our servers, which will do very smart things, like collapse similar messages. Our servers, which will optimize for the latency of mobile networks and make sure that that message gets down to the device. But that's only the first step. We've done deep integration with Android, such that when you send a message, that message can trigger an Android intent. Let me show you how powerful this is. Let's go to a demo. Now, what Matt has on the screen here on his laptop is Google Maps. He's in Google Maps, and he's using the Chrome browser, and he's added a Chrome extension. The Chrome extension is in the upper right-hand corner, and that sends it to his phone. So in the map, he's got directions. He's got directions from the Moscone Center to Google headquarters, and he wants to send that to the phone. What do you think happens? Do you think we send a text message that says this is the address? Do you think we send an email? No, we send an Android intent. In other words, when he says send a phone, the message gets sent to our server, gets pushed down to the device kicks into navigation mode automatically. Keep your eye, when he clicks on send a phone, keep your eye on the Android device. So send it to phone, and on the Android device, boom, right into navigation. How hot is that? That's how you do a device, cloud-to-device API. Let me show you another example. You're reading an article on the desktop. You think it's awesome, but you're out of time and you need to run. You want to keep reading that on the Android phone. Why don't you send that to the device, Matt? To the device. Opens up the browser, takes you right to that article, not ever having to press any other keys. Isn't that great? We can't wait to see what you're going to go do with this API. All right, let's go back to slides. You're going to love this. I mean, come on. If you're like me, you have a plethora of devices you carry around with you. And all those devices shouldn't mean added complexity in yet another bill, right? You should be able to, at the platform level, enable tethering. And so now your Android device can, in fact, become a portable hotspot and really serve the needs of these other devices that you might have with you. In fact, let's show you a demo of this working. Matt has Nexus 1 running Froyo. He'll go right into tethering and portable hotspot. He'll enable the hotspot. He'll give it a name. In fact, I think he's already named this as Android AP. And that hotspot will turn on. We'll give it a second there. There we go. Tethering hotspot is now active. Now he'll go to another device that doesn't have connectivity. How about that iPad? And there you go. One bill. Isn't that beautiful? All right, let's go back to slides. Now, it turns out, do you know what the most popular thing people do with these smartphones? What do you think it is? Fairly obvious. It's they actually use the phone. The number two thing they do is they do text messaging. And the third most used application is the browser. And so it's critically important for us to make the Android browser rock. And we're going to constantly improve that browser, and Froyo is a major step in that direction. What have we done in Froyo? Well, I think you're going to love this. We have a 2 to 3x performance in the browser. How? Well, we took the same JavaScript interpreter that we had in Chrome, that made Chrome so fast, V8, and we brought that into Froyo. Now, the best way to show you how much of an advance we've made is to do a demo. So let's go and show you this fantastic performance boost. Now, we're going to do this demo with a number of devices. We're going to do this demo, 3 devices. We're going to do this demo with Froyo, a Claire, and an iPad. Now, here's the demo we're going to do. There's an industry standard test. In fact, there's a suite of 26 tests, the SunSpider tests, that really exercise JavaScript performance of all kinds. And when Matt presses start across these 3 devices, we're going to exercise each one of these 26 tests. As we complete one test, that little Android robot will take 1 breaststroke forward. And as all 26 tests are complete, we're going to complete an entire lap. Okay? So how are we going to go do here? Let's go ahead and start this test. Let's see what happens. Oh, you started the iPad first, trying to give it a little bit of a lead here, huh? You can cheer. It's great. I really wonder if we'll be able to get that in the App Store. Oh, it's a web app. How great is that? All right. Let's go back to slides. We think with the performance improvements that we just showed you, that we can claim that Froyo has the world's fastest mobile browser. And that's a pretty great accomplishment, one we're extremely proud of. Okay, we're not done. I showed you what's in Froyo, but make no mistake about our commitment to maintain leadership in the browser on Android. One of the ways that we're doing that is we're working with standards bodies to enable web developers to get capabilities that were formerly only limited to native access to the platform. What kind of capabilities? Well, think about the things that you can access on a device, things like the magnetometer, the accelerometer. Think about things like the camera or being able to access speech. Wouldn't it be great if you could access this from the browser? We're going to show you a sneak peek at something beyond Froyo, an early development build that will give you a flavor of where we're going next. Let's go back to demos. Now remember, we already got some of this work underway. Last year, we worked with the standards committees to introduce geolocation into the browser. And today, almost on all major modern platforms, why you can make an API call from the browser, get location with the user's permission, and then do a feature like My Location right within the browser. But we want to do more. How about the accelerometer? What about the access to the tilt and the direction of the device? Watch this. Isn't that great? Right within the browser. All right. Now, another key feature that we've heard from developers that they want access to in the browser is the camera. Here, for example, is the Buzz web application. We'd love to not only post a Buzz, but we'd love to be able to include a picture. Well, how do you access the camera from the web browser? Well, in this development build, we've built those APIs right into the browser such that Matt now can simply select, if he wants to, it looks like in this case this demo is not going to work. We'll give it one shot and we'll move on if this doesn't work. But you can access that camera capability right from within the browser. And we'll show you that in the sandbox later. It's great. Let's talk about another capability that's available. But before we talk about that capability, let me remind you of what's possible in Android. Google, starting about several years ago, really made a deep investment in voice recognition. We recognized that the mobile device, because of its limited input capability, would be the platform in which people used voice input more than any other platform. In fact, we see a stunning number of queries being done on mobile devices where the input is a human voice. Now, just as a reminder of how fantastic our capability has become over the past 2 years, let me do a few demos. Or more accurately, Matt, why don't you highlight a few cases?
Pictures of Barack Obama with the French president at the G8 summit.
That's a tough one. Boom, look at that. Because this is so fun, let's do a few more.
Pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge at sunset.
These are queries you're likely not to type in, let alone get a response back in a few seconds. Isn't that great? And one more.
Deldado Vineyards, Napa.
My favorite vineyard in Napa. Boom. Now, what Matt just showed you was phenomenal voice recognition that we're now shipping in Mandarin, Japanese, English, a number of languages, and that's constantly increasing. But what's coming next is also the ability to understand human intentions. We'll give you a very simple sneak peek at the kinds of things that we're going to enable.
Call fifth floor restaurant.
So in this case, because he said call, it got it triggered. And there's many, many more intentions we're going to go build in and make it very, very simple for you to use voice input as a first-class way to interact with your Android device.
Hey, Vic, let's give this one a try.
Oh, you got it? OK, let's go back to the camera. Let's see if this thing works. So this is a web app. It's a Buzz web app. There's the camera. From the browser, boom, right into the camera. Isn't that great? And now you can post a picture and give web developers the same type of capabilities that you'd expect in a native application. I'm glad that worked. No need for you guys to visit the sandbox. All right. All right. Now, getting back to the speech demonstration. What we showed you was capability that we make available to developers, but what about accessing that capability from the browser? Here's a web app. It is a translate app from Google with one new feature. You'll note the microphone right there at the top. Matt, if you could just point to the microphone and watch what Matt does.
Can you help me find the nearest hospital?
Pouvez-vous m'aider à trouver l'hôpital le plus proche?
Awesome. Awesome. All right, let's go back to slides. Now, we're not only committed to making sure that Android... You can clap. I'll let you clap. You know, I love it when I don't even have to speak to a slide and we just get applause. I'm so tempted to go on. But let me just make a point here. You know, we're not only committed to having the world's fastest browser, we're committed to having the world's most comprehensive browser. It turns out that on the internet, people use Flash. And part of being open means you're inclusive rather than exclusive, and you're open to innovation. You know, this was driven home to me very powerfully when my daughter picked up my iPad and went to her favorite website, Nickelodeon, and this is what she saw on the iPad. Can we switch to the iPad? A sea of orange. She said, "Daddy, can I play with your Android device?" And this is what she saw. The full Nickelodeon site. Isn't that great? That's what openness means. And by the way, a special thanks to Adobe for their incredible willingness to work with us, engage with us on Android and in Chrome and in many other areas. It's really fun to work with other folks in the ecosystem to meet the needs of users. Much nicer than just saying no. Yeah. All right, let's go back to slides. Now, we've also made significant improvements in the Android marketplace. We've listened carefully to the feedback that we've gotten from developers and from users, and I think you're going to like the enhancements. Let's talk about what we've done. On average, our data shows that users are installing more than 40 apps on their Android device. And so finding those apps is a challenge. Also, they want to search within the data of those apps. They want to move those apps to the SD card, and they want to update all without having to update each individual app by themselves. Let me show you through a series of demos what we've done here. Let's go to demos. The first demonstration we're going to show you is just searching the apps. And now, with the quick search box, we've made it trivially easy to scope it to apps. So as soon as you start typing a letter, why the app you're looking for just comes up. It's a simple and easy way to go find apps. Not only can you find apps, but we've improved the quick search box so that developers can plug into the search framework. In this case, that icon is for Mint. Mint is a financial application. And now you're searching within the data of that application, bringing up your financial records. We think developers are going to extend this in all sorts of exciting ways, making not only Android more usable, but their own applications be surfaced, discoverable, and more fun and engaging for the user. Another issue we've heard is people want to take advantage of the openness of Android, the ability for you to plug in an SD card with arbitrary amounts of memory. And they want to move apps not just in the internal memory, but off to the SD card. 2 points. We've enabled that capability in a secure way with Froyo. But we've also made it so that the user never has to worry about it. When they install an application, we'll intelligently look at the space and, if appropriate, move it to the SD card. If the user wants to get involved and manually move things around, that's what this demonstration shows. In this case, Matt is going to take a brand new game, Need for Speed, and he's going to shift that game from the internal memory onto the SD card. And there you go. The whole app, 50 megabytes, is being moved over. Why don't we just start the game, just so you can see it's on the SD card. Why don't you launch that game? Isn't that awesome? Great new game, Need for Speed, that's coming, and it can live on your SD card. Okay, let's move on. Matt, we got to go. I know the game's fun. All right. Let's go into the marketplace and talk about all right, let's talk about update all functionality. Matt, that's you. He's easily distracted. All right. Today, you have to update each application individually. In Froyo, we've made it simple. At the bottom of the Android marketplace, you see the Update All button. I'm kind of embarrassed you had to clap on that. We're glad it's there. We've gone one step further with Froyo. Why should the user have to take any action? Starting with Froyo, with the user's permission, you can allow automatic updating, and all your apps are updated all the time. Isn't that great? And the user doesn't have to worry about this at all. Let's go back to slides. Another key feature we're adding in Froyo is designed to meet the needs of developers. We want the best apps on Android, the highest quality apps. And that means we need to close the loop when there's a problem. Let's go back to a demonstration here, and I'm going to show you an app called Crashy. It does exactly that really well. It crashes. And so, Matt, why don't you start the app, and it crashes. Now, note that there's a button there now called Report. And the user can press Report, can provide a description of what happened. They can look at all the data that they're going to go send, make sure they're comfortable with that data, and then they can hit Send. And that is sent back to the developer. Note on this screen the Android Marketplace. Note a brand new tab, Bugs. And when you click on Bugs, we will show you those reports for your application, and we will show you the entire stack trace of what happened. We thought you might like that, and closing the loop, allowing apps to get better and better. All right, let's go back to slides. I want to go a little bit beyond Froyo and show you a sneak peek at other exciting things that we're doing in the Android marketplace. I think you're going to like some of these things. Let's go back to demo. Matt is now showing you the Android marketplace, except this is unlike anything you've ever seen before. It's the Android marketplace accessible from a browser on a PC, and that's great. Now, Matt can browse apps, he can look at reviews, but you'll note in the upper right-hand corner, Matt is signed in. And because he's signed in, we know every device, Android device that he has. Yeah, he's a little weird. In this case, the device that he has on the stage, he has selected as Nutter, Butter, Nutty Buddy, something, whatever. Like I said, he's weird. He's got his phone selected, and so now he can go browse a particular app. He's going to find an app that he likes, like OpenTable. Now, hold on, Matt, hold on. He's going to hit free, and he's going to go and download the app. What do you think happens? Well, let's see. What happens today on some other systems? You find the app, you download it to your PC or Mac. You then have to tether your device. You have to then, once it's down on your PC, you have to then convert it over that tethering to your device and then make that sync happen. Well, guess what? We discovered something really cool. It's called the Internet. And when Matt presses download, keep your eye on the Android device. Over the air. Isn't that totally great? Over the air, installed on your device. Now, it turns out it's called the Android, or the marketplace, because it's more than apps. In fact, what we're about to show you is a new category. How about some music? Matt, why don't you find an album or song you like? And why don't you just send it to the device using the Internet over the air? And boom, keep your eye on the Android device. There you go. There's the music coming right on down to your device. Now, we're not done yet. Some of you may be thinking, this is really cool, this is so hot, but I have all my music already on my device at home. My Windows Media or iTunes library, I've got thousands of songs there. What do I do with those? Well, we recently acquired a company called Simplified Media, and it is our intention to incorporate that technology into the marketplace as well. And that allows you at home to run a simple piece of software that makes all of your non-DRM music available to your Android device. Would you like to see this? Let's go to your Android device. Android device has 2 songs on it. That's nice, but I want more than 2 songs. I want all of my music I have. So Matt will go down and select. I guess he has to plug in the device so you can hear it.
Adoptions, touch 9.
Okay.
Thank you for calling the 5th floor restaurant.
Oh my God.
Adoptions and general inquiry, touch 1.
Let me offer a public apology now. You know what's really odd is that they didn't pick up all that time. Wow. Okay, getting back to music. 2 songs. I want all my music. He's going to select that button that says all. And magically, all the music is now available. Now you might be wondering, what just happened? We are making your home music library available to your Android device as a stream. So for example, if Matt was to select a particular song, I guess Matt's an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan, hit play. Will this work? Yeah, we think users are going to love this feature. All right, let's go back to slides. Let's talk a little bit about advertising. It turns out that we know a little bit about advertising. Today happens, or this year happens to be Google's 10th anniversary of providing advertising solutions. And we've learned a few things in that decade. One of the foremost things we've learned is that if you want to have a healthy ecosystem of advertising, you need advertisers. And we have hundreds of thousands of them. That means if you have an ad spot, why, we have a relevant ad that can fill it. It's called inventory. We're not new at this game. We're not working with a handful of partners and charging them $1 million each to be part of our program. Okay? So we can be your advertising partner. We've also learned something else in that decade, that advertisers and publishers have different kinds of needs. There are local advertisers. There's direct response advertisers. There are brand advertisers. And if you want to play, you need formats that meet the needs of those kinds of advertisers. And we have those formats. A third thing that we've learned, advertising needs to be measured. And that means it needs to have great tools. Why does it need to be measured? Well, you need to know if the money you're spending is giving you a return on the investment. You need to know which campaigns are working so you can invest more in them or tweak them as necessary. And it turns out that we have some tools you might have heard of called DoubleClick, Analytics, AdSense, AdWords. The tools that the industry uses, knows, and loves are being extended seamlessly to work in the mobile environment. And finally, we've learned that it's important to be open to innovation. Now, I don't even know what the ponies have to do with this slide, but part of being open is that when you get a designer who gives you a slide, you go with it. Let's show you each one of these 4 points and go to demos. Now, these are real advertisers and real applications. Let me make that point clear. You're looking at backgrounds, one of the most popular applications available in the Android marketplace. At the top, you're looking at a Google ad. Our ad program, which has been available only to a limited number of beta participants, is called AdSense for Mobile Apps, AFMA. And you're looking at one of those AFMA ads. You're looking at our large inventory of text ads being optimized and served on that device. We're taking advantage of the small space that we have, and you're seeing the nice rotation. But that's just one ad format. What happens if Matt selects something like beaches? Well, then we can serve a contextually relevant ad. In this case, Kayak is a popular website, an application for travel. But in this case, when you click on the ad, we take you to deep within the Android marketplace so that the user can download the app. Okay, that's another important ad format. Let's show you another format. This is a third format for brand advertising. In other words, a banner ad, where an advertiser has decided to convey their message through an image. We support that. How about another category? And this is something that we're announcing available today. And that's an expandable ad format. One of the things that we've seen through our research is that users, if at all possible, would like to stay within the context of the application they're using. So in this case, when Matt selects that Volkswagen ad, it expands right out. You can look at that ad, and when he's done with it, he can simply make it slide right back in. And we think that's great for advertisers, and we think that's great for users. That expandable format is available today. Let me show you another brand new one we're making available today. This is an expandable ad format. This is a Flickster application. And why don't you expand that ad out? In this case, it's not just display, it's rich media. He's linking directly to a trailer. He clicked on it, and the trailer can begin. Okay? And the movie will go ahead and start. Matt, don't watch the movie. Let's come back. Okay? Let me show you another ad format. This is also an expandable ad format, but in this case, this expandable ad format has, I'm sorry, in this case, I jumped ahead of you. Let's go back to the other one. In this case, I'm going to show you a very popular ad format that has been testing incredibly well. This is a click-to-call ad. In this case, we're leveraging the fact that the user has given us permission to use their location. We know that they're in San Francisco, and DirecTV would like to make a special offer to customers in San Francisco, and they have a new click-to-call option. So simply clicking on that button on that ad allows the customer to make that phone call to DirecTV, and that's incredibly valuable. Let me talk about another ad format. This is an expandable format with a very clever twist. Matt, why don't you expand this one out? It includes a map, and directions, and click-to-call. Isn't that great? That's a new format that will become shortly available as well. Okay, finally, let me show you what I meant when I said open to innovation. This is the weather.com application, and they're using the industry standard double-click software to serve this ad from Google. The ad is at the bottom. Now, when Matt clicks on that ad, you get a full-screen immersive ad, and it's a pretty amazing ad. It's got trailers and TV spots and galleries. Not only does it have a bunch of media that you can interact with, look at the bottom there. The bottom has the ability for you to tap directly into Fandango to purchase movie tickets. But you know what the kicker is of what you're seeing? It's not a Google ad. You're seeing an immersive ad format delivered by a great advertising company called Medialets. But because the advertiser, the ISV, the developer, used DoubleClick to serve the ads, DoubleClick is open to have any ads show up. And that's what it means to be open. That we serve the most relevant ad to the user, sometimes from Google, sometimes not, but you, the developer, and the publisher have the choice. That's openness. All right, let's go back to slides. If you'd like to learn more about our advertising solutions, we encourage you to go to google.com mobile ads. And to entice your interest a little bit, we're doing two things today. Number one, we're opening up AFMA, AdSense for Mobile Apps, to everybody at the conference, all 5,000 of you. And we're going to sweeten the deal a little bit. If you go sign up, we will give you $100 free advertising credit to start learning the system and advertise your apps in the Android marketplace. So please go try that out. One of the most powerful ways to demonstrate what I talked about at the beginning, that innovation comes from all levels of the stack, is to highlight one of my favorite devices. This is the device by HTC. It's the EVO device. Now, there's several things I love about this device. One thing I love about the device is its absolutely gorgeous 4.3-inch screen. I also love how fast it is. I love the great work HTC has done to add value. I love the Sprint network. It's a 4G network. Now, you know what a 4G network can do? It can give you a peak of up to 10 megabits per second. Imagine what you can watch on this device at 10 megabits per second. I love the fact that this device has a great little stand. So you can just set it on the desk, or if you're on an airplane, just set it right there and watch your content. It's got a great battery. It's got HDMI output. It's got a camera that's 8 megapixels, and that will do 720p HD video recording. And you know what I love most about this device? Is that in partnership with Sprint and HTC, Google is going to make this device available to every one of you today. Now, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm sorry. Remember to register next year, quickly. I think you're going to love that device we ask you to do two things. Number one, don't run out right now. After the keynotes are over, we're going to make it available all day until 6 p.m., so you'll have plenty of time to get this device and really get to see the latest in Android innovation. Number two thing we're going to ask, thank you for supporting Android. Thank you for voting on the side of openness and choice. Please keep building those great apps. Now, we're at the halfway point this morning. We're not done yet. If you'd like to see the next step in the evolution of Android and where we're about to go next, hang tight.